Hey everyone, it's Mike, piddling around the yard, and today we're going to take a look at compost, but specifically compost tea. So come on, let's go. Alright, so today we're talking about compost tea, and what is it? It's just basically a liquid compost. You've probably seen people talking about making compost, buying compost. You put compost in your garden because it helps improve the soil and gather nutrients for your plants. But in addition to just dry compost that you get in bags or whatever, you can make a compost tea. And it's very easy to make. Anyone can make it, and it's even great if you're someone that has a small yard, or you're in an apartment or something where you don't have an area where you can, put a compost bin to make your own compost. You can make compost tea. Anyone can do it. All you need is a bucket with a lid, and you want to make sure that that bucket has a lid that seals tight. So you can get those at any big box or hardware store. They usually have like 5-gallon buckets with lids. Get one of those and come on out to the garden. Okay, so I'm out here in the garden, and guess what I see? I have wood chips in between my garden beds, right? To try and keep the weeds down, also to keep the mud down and everything else. My wood chips are about done. I'm gonna have to put new wood chips in. But also what happens, especially here in the winter, the first weed that pops up is this one here. You probably have seen it all over your yard. It's called the hairy buttercress, and it is an edible weed. It's part of the mustard family, Brassica, but a lot of people don't eat it. You can put it in your salads or do whatever. There's nothing wrong with it. You want to get it when it's young, like it is now, but it's mostly a weed, so it makes a great compost tea. It's easy to pull up. You can easily just pull these right out of the ground. All right, so I just take these and I'll throw them in my bucket. All right, so that is basically all I do is I'll go around this time of year. In the winter, it's midwinter in January, and these weeds start popping up, especially near the garden. They're all around the house, all over the property, so I could probably fill this bucket up. I like to fill up the buckets about halfway with the weeds. So just pull the weeds, fill up the bucket halfway, and then once you get the bucket full, now this one's not full yet, but once you get the bucket full, then you'll want to fill the rest of it with water. So I usually fill it so the bucket is 3/4 full with the water and the weeds, and then put the lid on, seal it, and put it somewhere outside. It could be anywhere. It could be in the sun, it could be in the shade, doesn't matter. I keep mine, I usually keep buckets right next to my raised beds. I'll put a bucket out, and it's got my compost tea in it. I don't know if there's some in this one. I got dumped it out. But this is one I was using last year, and I usually keep a bucket near each raised bed, and it'll take 4 to 6 weeks for that to break down. So after about 4 to 6 weeks, the weeds in the bucket will break down, and once they break down, if you open that lid, it's gonna stink pretty bad. So make sure you're not opening this in the house, and you don't want to spill it where you don't, because you're gonna have to rinse that off if it's gonna smell pretty bad. But and you don't use it directly. What you want to do is dilute it. So generally I'll put about 2 cups of the compost tea into a watering can, a 2.5-gallon watering can, and or I think it's 2 gallons. So about 1 cup of tea per gallon of water. So put that in a watering can, water wherever you're going to water, plants or the raised beds, whatever. And that's it. It depends on what weeds you use. A lot of people suggest for compost tea using comfrey or stinging nettles, stuff like that. I have nettles, but the nettles won't grow until, you know, April. So I'll make compost tea later in the year with the nettles, but in the winter I'll come out and collect these hairy buttercress and throw them in a bucket. I'll make some compost tea. Now it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks for that to break down, and then I've got the tea that you can use on plants. You can use to just pour it in your garden to start adding nutrients to the soil, and that's it. It's very simple. Anyone can do it. Doesn't matter how much space you have. You only need space for a 5-gallon bucket. You can collect the weeds anywhere. I don't think people are going to complain if you pull weeds in their garden. You might want to ask them first, but anywhere you can collect weeds, you can make a compost tea, and now you have fertilizer for your plants, generally outdoor plants, in your garden. All right. So if you have any questions, post them down in the comments. Don't forget, click subscribe, like, all that stuff, and join me on the channel here for another video next week.